Just to give you a bit of context about our school, and we have a very high percentage of free school meals, almost 50%. And lots of our children come into school, nursery, with lots of speech and language difficulties. So lots of our interventions are around oracy and early interventions to ensure that the children are able to understand, and also to, attention and listening skills are a big thing as well at our school early on. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about all of the interventions, and I'm going to start with the COMET checklist and blank levelling that we do at our school. So currently, our PS1 phase, so our nursery reception, use the enabling pathways, and they work very closely with each other. So it's really important that our nursery reception classes mirror each other, and lots of work is done on developing oracy and attention and listening skills and sort of oracy skills lower down. So that's why that in our nursery and reception provision, there's lots of observations, lots of free flow, indoors and outdoors, adults as well, enabling adults to sort of encourage talk and to ensure that children are talking in the areas. So in our reception setting, building upon the effective practices established in the nursery setting, the school has designed an environment and curriculum that seamlessly supports the transition to reception. So like I said, the provision prioritises purposeful and accessible resources, practical learning opportunities and approaches, and to underpin the reliable, and we also are underpinned by the reliable assessment tools. So the assessment tools that we use are things like the test of abstract language comprehension, the TALC, and the COMET toolkit as well. And this ensures our approach and our practices are embedded into everyday practice rather than being treated as bolt-on or separate intervention. So our intervention basically for nursery reception are done constantly through our provision and the questioning that we use, and the children are grouped accordingly as well. So the reception class provision has been designed to mirror the nursery environment. It's very open planned, organised, minimal, lots, not very cluttered. The layout is designed so that it reduces overstimulation. We provide accessible resources that encourage independent learning and exploration. And the blank levelling assessments in the autumn term are completed in order so that the children can be grouped in accordingly. So things like, we have a group as well for attention and listening as well. So if the children are not ready to sit or listen or to actively engage in listening, they're a separate group as well. So then our questioning is sort of tweaked and targeted to that specific group. So like I said, emphasis on practical and hands-on learning opportunities that align with the initial teacher training principles. And also we engage and collaborate with many multi-agency stakeholders such as CAS and the local authority, and we always gain advice and support from them as well in terms of our pupils who come in with low baselines. So yes, so lots of work is done in terms of questioning with the children as well. So the different levels of question that we ask the children, that's all done as part of the COMET checklist. So we only ask the children the questions, and they basically set for their ability level and their level. And what we do as well is those groupings are fluid. So the tests are repeated throughout the year when we feel that the children are making progress. And when the children make progress, if they are then moving on to the next sort of blank levelling style questions, we will move them groups. And our monitoring systems are robust in our school. The progress is tracked throughout the year. We have regular progress meetings with our assessment lead, which links to our performance management. So staff are aware of where the children should be in order to, sort of assess them and put them into any intervention groups. So my name is Michael Davis. I'm the Literacy Coordinator at Nant Parc Primary School, and I'm here today to talk to you about the interventions that we run in school currently. And then moving on from that then, when the children start in reception, they start the phonics. So we do Sounds Right phonics at our school, Sounds Right. And then children then are assessed and tested. The diagnostic test is completed termly from reception. So then we have also intervention groups related to phonics as well. So basically, the way Sounds Right works is it's whole class teaching of phonics, and it's 20 minutes per day. It's very systematic, synthetic phonics scheme, and it's scripted so that all staff deliver the lessons consistently throughout the year groups. Any children then that have fallen behind, so any children that are not making expected progress, they will still access the Sounds Right sessions delivered by the class teacher. But any extra support that they need will be done in-house then in terms of their class TA. And the class TA then will deliver any Sounds Right intervention that is needed for the pupils who are not making expected progress with the phonics. So that would be then basically repeated lessons. So going back over the sounds maybe that the children are struggling with. Lessons and activities targeted for blending, segmenting, and for that early on phonics in terms of CBC word building, things like that. It's continued then into year one. So any children then who also need intervention in year one will receive that in a similar way to the reception children. If they're not making expected progress, they will still access the Sounds Right sessions delivered by the class teacher, but then interventions will be delivered as well, in addition to the Sounds Right sessions. So they're not being separated from the Sounds Right sessions that are delivered by the class teacher. They will have extra sessions, and that's because if the children are withdrawn from those Sounds Right sessions delivered by the class teacher and are just focusing on the sounds that they are struggling with, the gap will get wider. So the aim is to sort of have extra intervention to keep them up rather than withdraw them and then the gap get wider. Then we want to expose them to the new sounds, the new concepts, the new skills. So, moving on to more difficult words, but we realise that they're not making that progress as much as the other children, hence why they have an extra Sounds Right and phonics sessions. So then that will continue then into year three. Sounds Right is only sort of designed to be taught up until the end of year two. But in our school, we actually do a direct teaching of Sounds Right in year three as well. And Sounds Right intervention is continued into year two and to year three. In terms of PS3 then, Sounds Right isn't delivered as a session daily, but there are Sounds Right interventions going on for the children who need it. So sort of plug in the gaps. What we found when we introduced Sounds Right initially was when we started doing the diagnostic testing of phonics and blending and segmenting and things like that, we realised that lots of our children who were fluent readers can sometimes come out as a level 30. They were actually reading, but it was more sight vocabulary. So lots of them could read, quite a challenging text, but most of the words that they were reading, or most of the text that they were reading, it was all based on sight vocabulary rather than the phonics. So when it came to segmenting and blending, those children were unable to do it. So that's why the diagnostic testing was really important for us, because we were able to identify where the children needed help with, what the children needed help with, and where to go with them. So intervention is done in PS3 for those children who needed to go back over the phonics and to plug the gaps. It's also part of the lessons as well that the staff deliver, and all of our spelling and spelling lists and things that go home are all based on the Sounds Right scheme, and particularly in PS3, lots of work is done with the polysyllabic words. So lots of, breaking down the word, breaking down the sounds. That is taught as part of their sort of spelling lessons, but then the spellings then are directly taken from sounds, right? So that's what happens higher up then in terms of the phonics. Moving on then, we have a lot of children who are behind with their reading, and I know this is quite a common theme amongst schools at the moment. So lots of our intervention are based around reading. So as well as the phonics, the sounds right interventions we also have a guided group reading intervention taking place and individual reading. So we have class TAs who are off task in the afternoons, who withdraw children from classes to give them that extra guided group reading sessions and individual reading. And this is not necessarily for the children who are low ability or behind. Sometimes it can be for the children who just need that extra push. And with that extra support or extra reading sessions they receive, can actually progress faster and to sort of, go above and beyond expected levels. And it's also targeted for the more able and talented pupils as well, so that lots of questioning is done throughout the guided group reading sessions, so that the children are reading for understanding and answering those higher order questions. So it's not necessarily for the children who are behind all the time, where the sounds right obviously is, but the guided group reading, the individual reading that we do, is targeted basically based on what the class teacher thinks who needs that extra support. And that's decided as well with conversations with the assessment coordinator. And we have regular termly meetings with them as well to talk about our children and to talk about their progress. And any groupings like that are decided, not in isolation, but there are discussions based around who to put in the interventions. So we find that really, really works. And it has worked wonders with certain pupils in terms of, just having an extra reading session a week can really make a difference. Lots of our children don't read at home. So we do offer a reading club as well in the lunch times. So every day in the library, different TAs open the library up so any pupils can access, either if they want to read for pleasure, or they can come in there or listen to the teaching assistant read books to them, or if they wanted to get their guided group reading book or their individual reading book, they can come in. We also have accelerated reader, so if any child has finished their reading book, they can come in and take the AR, the accelerated reader quiz, following that. And then lastly, the last sort of intervention that we currently offer pupils is literacy junction, and this was sort of discussed and agreed as a cluster. So the St Kenneth cluster had training on this. We had an inset day where all teaching assistants were trained on literacy junction. And literacy junction is basically part of his position teaching, lots of repetition, and it's targeted, for literacy in terms of spelling, writing, phonics, grammar. It's broken down into different sections, and it needs to be taught 20 minutes per day, every day. And currently how we run it is we've just got certain children on there, one-to-one, where we feel that they really need that support. Not necessarily children who are really behind, but some children who need that extra push to reach expected levels. So we currently do that in PS3 at the moment. It does contradict sometimes with our phonics scheme. So what we've done now is we've sort of tailored some of the activities to meet the needs of our phonics scheme, because obviously the way you teach phonics can be different. I mean, phonics is phonics at the end of the day. So what we do is some of the activities, we just tweak it to make it so that it's consistent with the sound right way, rather than trying to teach them a different way. But obviously the teaching of phonics, it's the way you teach. The pedagogy is different, but the actual bread and butter is the same. So we don't tend to change lots of the literacy junction lessons. It's just when it comes to phonics and things like that. And like I said, all the more able and talented pupils are given the option of being reading buddies. We encourage them to come into class within class to act as reading buddies for those children who struggle with reading. We have a reading club every week so that children are buddied up. If they want to come in and do any extra reading, they can. Lots of children take this up as well, especially lower down. They like coming in to listen to reading. And it's it's done more of a sort of come and read with us sort of thing, rather than, oh, you need extra support, come and do this. It's very voluntary, and lots of children are sort of put on a rota as well, because there's so many children who want to come to read, which is really, really good. We place a very high sort of, we put reading really high in the school. We've got a reading book machine that we use. A vending machine we use as a reward. So any children who are doing really good reading, make lots of progress, we offer them a token, and then they get a free book then from our vending machine, which is displayed in our foyer. We also use Reading Eggs and Reading Express as one of the programs that we use to support with reading. And this is tracked as well. So the Reading Eggs progress is tracked weekly, and any child then who completes the most lessons on Reading Eggs or the most lessons on Reading Express, they are awarded then with a book token as well. And like I said, all teachers are reading. We have a culture for reading in our school. So as well as all the children having a reading book that they read for pleasure, all of the staff have a reading book as well, which is placed on their desk, so that the children know that, we are actively reading as well. And sometimes we'll choose a whole class book that we read together. So that's something that's, been really positive this year in terms of reading, because like I said, reading is on our SDP, and it's something that we are trying to develop here at Nant Parc. So I hope that helps. If you need any information or further information about the intervention that we run, I will put a link to my email address, or you can ring the school directly and ask for Mr. Davis, the literacy coordinator, Michael Davis. So thanks for listening.